Hey there, this is Barry here, and it's been a while since I've put anything out on this channel, but I've got a new lab. I've moved from where I used to live in Kamloops to a place in Alberta, and I got a way bigger office to work out of now, way better studio space. So here we are. What are we going to do today? Let's just get right into it. This Gigabyte motherboard here is it's a GA-H97M-D3H, and it's getting hot here and it's shutting down. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out this motherboard and we're going to put in this motherboard. I'll walk you through the steps. This is a little bit different machine than your average desktop computer. As you can see here, it's got 4 hard drives and it's got an SSD. So this is running Linux Mint, and these are hard drives are RAID 10. So I have redundancy. So this is like a little server. It's an older style Cooler Master case, and it's got a 500 watt power supply that's a Cooler Master, and I've got 16 gigs of RAM in here. But so what we're going to do today is we're going to take all the guts off of here and we're going to put it on this here motherboard. I've tested this board. It tests good. It's a ASUS Z97-A. It's a motherboard that was produced before ASUS was having a bunch of problems with their hardware. So it's an older board. The RAM it runs is a DDR3, same as what's in here, and that's a Intel i5 processor. So we're going to swap that over and get this running. Unfortunately, all the data that's on these drives is going to be lost, because when I switch the motherboard over, that's going to have to reinitiate the RAID setup. So when it does that, overwrites the drives. I do have this backed up. I have this backed up in 2 different places. So I've got each of these drives are 4 terabytes, and I have a 4 terabyte USB drive that I've put on this. This is nowhere near full. I'm only using like 2 terabytes, so it won't be that bad to put it back on. And I also have a portable USB drive that's also a 4 terabyte drive, and it's got all my backed up video files. This mainly does all my video files for both of my channels. I've actually got 4 channels, but only 2 are really active. So without any more further ado, let's get into tearing this thing apart and seeing what we can do to get it back up and running. I'm just going to go through the basic teardown and put it back together again. I'm not going to make you suffer through rebuilding the RAID, because that's going to take hours and hours to do. But let's get right into it. Let's start tearing this thing apart. Okay. First thing we need to do here is start unplugging some cables. So this is a fan header, that's audio, and there's a sensor. It's testing to see how hot that mother was getting, and it was getting hot. And it's USB power supply, and one more power supply. USB 3, SATA. Got all my SATA cables labeled so I know which drives they're going to. A little bit of forethought there, because when you're replacing drives and you got a RAID situation, you want to make sure you're getting the right drives in the right bay, so your RAID rebuilds properly. And there's more underneath here. I don't know that I'm going to need to take all these drives out. I hope I don't, but undo the screws here for the motherboard. Get all this cable management in here. I try and, even though I've got old school hardware, I still like to try and make sure I get the cables done up nice and tight so it's, you know, visually appealing. And it's free. Look at that. So I guess maybe one thing I should check before I go any further ahead is that this thing, other motherboard actually fits in this case. Oh. Okay, so we're going to move things around here a little bit, change it up, and we're going to put the motherboards on the desk here so where you can see them, and I'm going to swap the RAM and the processor and whatnot over, and then I'll put everything back in the case. Okay, here we go. Got the motherboard side by side here. I got a foam pad under this one here, and this is also on a pad. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the low-hanging fruit and we're going to remove the RAM. I've always been a fan of the ASUS hardware. I try and use as much ASUS as I possibly can. Gigabyte was free. I used to work in a computer shop, and a lot of the hardware that came in was going to be e-waste, so I saved it from the e-waste bin and put it into my own collection. I've got a few of these older 1155 motherboards. One thing I do really hate is I hate these. That processor was not on very well at all. I hate these clip-on Intel fans. So, but what we have a plan B. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with this style of fan. It's just a cheap Chinese thing I found that for this motherboard. It's a little bit bigger fan. I think it bolts down to the motherboard. It doesn't just. It's very important to keep these. It just doesn't clip in with those wimpy plastic clips. So now we're going to take the processor and remove the processor off the motherboard. I better grab some alcohol and take the processor out. Now making sure everything's oriented the same way. The motherboard is oriented the same way. I'm going to slide that out of the frame here and put this back into the frame. The corner of the processor matches the corner here. The little notches fit. Making sure where this hinges, that hinges the same way. Then we'll put this on. We'll fiddle with that later. The motherboard's basically e-waste anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Now, drop the motherboard down in there. And I gotta step away here from the camera. Actually, I'd feel better if it was sitting on this. A little bit of foam here. Okay, we're back with a bit of alcohol. It's not the alcohol of my choice. I'm more of a Canadian rye drinker than I am a rubbing alcohol drinker, but you know, we do what we have to do. Not that I drink this shit, but I've seen people do it before. Don't ask me why. You gotta be pretty bloody hard up to drink this stuff. Okay, we got that old stuff off. Actually, I try and keep my processors fairly gummed up when I take my motherboards apart and rebuild them, repaste them, you know, every couple of months or whatever. Give them a good cleaning. I'm also cleaning this brand new heat sink, just to make sure there's no manufacturer's oils or whatever on it. Okay, that can go over there. Now we're going to flip this baby upside down. And we are going to align this here bracket. Okay. Now I did notice when this came out of the box, it had one of the pin, oh, there it is there. Pin's just a little bit bent. That one looks good. That looks good. That one's bent a bit. You can see it's really bent up here, but that's all right. I think we'll start with that one, get that one threaded first. Whoops. You know, it might be a good idea to put a little thermal paste on there before you do that. I know everybody's like, oh, you don't need that much, you only a bit of a pea size. Well, it's my motherboard, it's my heatsink, it's my video. I'm gonna put as much on there as I want. More the merrier as far as I'm concerned. Okay, we're gonna start this one off here. See if it bites. Oh yeah, I feel it biting. Wow, that's really bent. Here we go here. That's threading down. So you should go here, go across, get it started. Okay, you can feel that tightening down. That one's tightening down. And just tighten them to the snug. Cross pattern. That one's snug. That one's snug. Okay. CPU is installed. Now, there's the chassis fan on this one here. Whoop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. And this is it here, chassis fan. If I had been a smart man, I would have made sure it had that fourth pin on there so that the motherboard can sense the speed of the fan. But let's have a look here. We'll find out when we boot it up. Okay. Fan turns, motherboard is RAM's installed, and we can boot this before we put it in the motherboard to make sure it's going to fire up. Okay, so I've got a test bench over here that I can test this with. Might have to move stuff around a bit. Let's see if I can. Okay, so what we have here now is I have a KVM switch here, and I have the VGA and the USB and the PS2 adapter, and this motherboard has a power switch right here you can use for testing on the bench. So I'm gonna flip the power on the power supply here, and there's a little green LED down here. And so if I push this power supply, we got a power light here, and that fan should spin up. Oh, look at that. Here we go. I don't have any she's happy, there's no beeps. And we have a boot. In my Megatrends. And we're into the BIOS. No hard drive detected. That's what this little red light here means. There's no hard drive. But if we power this off, and put in a USB stick, and power it back on again. Yes, I can boot into an operating system. So that's good. The motherboard works, everything works, nothing was messed up. The RAM's seated properly. We're all good. So now we're going to go through the process. I'll bring the case back up onto the desk here, and we'll get this into the case. Now we've got the case back on the bench. Got the cables more or less out of the way. We're going to try and drop this motherboard in here and see if we can get it to slip right in. Oh, I might need a couple more standoffs down here. We want to check and make sure that we don't have any standoffs. So these little brass bits here that are going to interfere. This one here is not looking good. I have to move that one down to here. Okay. Should have taken care of that before, but... And what about that one there? Oh, I thought that was the right size. That's the right size. I tell you, this iFixit case, these all the little tools in here, this is a handy little kit, I tell you. It's just a deluxe case. I've added my own little bits to it here. I added these dental picks. I used to work on printers quite a bit, and then sometimes on printers you got to remove springs and whatnot, and these picks are amazing for getting into the springs, pulling them and readjusting them and whatnot. No, this is I really like this little toolbox. It's really handy. Okay, so we got that one removed. Let's just have a look here. We're gonna have to move this one too. I'm going with the onboard video. I'm not this is more or less a server. I don't game on it or anything, so I've got other machines I do that stuff with. I've got my main desktop computer, then I've got another secondary backup machine, and I have this one, and I got a few more that are in the works. Haven't decided what I'm going to do with them yet, but I might. I don't typically use Windows, but I do like putting together retro gaming machines. I don't do online gaming much. I just do whatever I can on my own computer. So I'm still Generals. I like to play Generals. I know it's as old as dirt, but nostalgia being what it is, and I have fun with it. So yeah, I'm gonna need more standoffs. Hey, gotta go find another box of tools. Not so much tools, I gotta find a box of bits and pieces. Okay, well, I've come to the conclusion that this is not the day to do a shortcut. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to take all the drives out, because there's standoffs underneath the hard drives that I'm not going to get access to. So I'm not going to make you guys suffer through that. I'm going to just pause the video here for a minute, and then I'll get this thing all apart and put it back together, and then I'll let you guys see what the end result is. So I don't know, it's not going to be any time for you because of the magic of the editing process, but just give me a few minutes here, and I'll zip these out, and put something else in. Put the motherboard and put all the standoffs in, get it all plugged in, and show you guys the end result. Okay, folks, we're back. I don't know what's going on with this thing, but the I/O shield is seeming to be not quite precisely cut. I think I've got it sorted out now. I just placed the motherboard in to the case, and I'm just going to fidget it around here a little bit, and I'm going to put in a few of the screws in order to get this thing lined up, and then we'll plug in the power and all the rest of the cables. But I'll get the motherboard down first, and then we'll come back just before I'm ready to boot it up. So I got a few of the cables plugged in here. USB power, CPU power, chassis fan, and it's my secondary chassis fan. This is audio, I believe. This is for the front panel. These are front panel plug-ins here. And this is another USB. Oh, wait a minute. Let's try this. Oh, there's a lot of USB headers on that. That's a COM port. My bad. Okay. So, my favorite here is getting these power switches in there. But I do have this little baggie of goodies here. And what do we got? USB, so that's you lift it up a bit. Then we got all these little babies here. Oh, there's another USB. We don't have a speaker on this one. Hard disk drive LED. Power LED, negative power LED. Hard drive LED.
And this is hard drive LED positive and negative. So this goes this way. And then we have, oh, I love it when I do this, power LED positive, power LED negative. So power LED positive, power LED negative. Okay, and then we have speaker, not going to use the speaker, power, switch, and ground. It doesn't matter because it's a short anyways, it makes power. And reset and ground. I'm going to make ground is, I'm going to say ground is the color and white is the hot. Shouldn't make a difference anyways. Just makes it easier when you do this, when you have this block here for this. And then this should line up too wide on the outside. Oh yeah, that makes it easy. Lots of light really helps too. Okay. Are we missing any pins? No siree. Okay. So that's the most of the cables. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to install the drives and get those drives back in. I'm not going to bore you guys with that tedious process of screwing them all down. But I did want to show you that I'm using the Western Digital yellow drives. These drives are for commercial use, but I've also put the date on how long they've been running. They last a long time. I have had a couple fail, but these yellow ones last a lot longer than the blue ones do. So I'm going to continue using them. But anyways, I'll get these plugged in, get them powered up, and let you guys see the results. I'll definitely let you know if any smoke comes out, but I think we're going to be good. Okay, here we are. All the power's plugged in, the drives are all back installed, got everything all wired up. Unfortunately though, even though this has a operating system on it that's functional, once I start this up, it was a new motherboard, and the operating system is going to need to be reloaded. So I'll be doing that next. Just basically wanted to show you the setup, getting it back together again. Got all the drives matching, all the numbers match. So I don't know, I'll have to wait and see how it all penned out on the motherboard, because the numbering is different on this machine than the other one. I might have to jostle these around so I know which drive is going into what port, but according to the manual, it's just all software in the BIOS to turn the RAID on. So it supports RAID 0, RAID 5, and RAID 10. So we're going RAID 10. But anyways, push the power, put a power cable in here and fire up and see if we have to let any smoke out. Where is... Okay. I gotta grab that. I thought I had I have a power supply right here. So once again, plug this in. And contact. Let me see if we got it. What happens here? Oh, there we go. Got to turn the power supply on. Okay. I see it on the monitor. Okay, it doesn't know what to do. Went right to BIOS. That's cool. Okay. I'll end this video here. I'm thinking about making a part 2 once it's all mounted up and put together, and I'll show you the screen. I also wanted to mention that this motherboard also supports the M.2 drives. I could put an M.2 in here if I wanted to, but I'm not going to at this point in time. In the future I might, and then eliminate the drive I have here. This SATA SSD. This is a Kingston 120 Gigabyte 110, and these are all 4 terabytes. So I got 8 terabytes of storage. Okay, folks, that's that wraps up this one. We'll be in touch with you soon and when we get the next project going. Here's a quick little hack for you guys. When you have to pour your screws out onto the table in order to sort through and figure out what you need, put it on a piece of paper. And you just kind of fold up the paper, and then you just line it up, pour them in. Quick and simple.